In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, I'd like to give you some tips on using a linear mask in your production. The linear mask is a new type of mask available for users of PowerDirector 19 or PowerDirector 365. Before we show you some techniques in using it, I'd like to show you this brief example that we put together. First thing I'm going to do is take my video of the T, drag and drop that on track number 1. Now I'm going to take the video of the ocean waves and put that on track number 2. Now you notice I have two other tracks, a title track and a music track. We use that for the example, but we won't focus on that in this particular tutorial. Now I'm using the default stacking order, which means that the track that is lower in the timeline is the one that overrides the other tracks. In this case, it's track number 2. So I highlight that track and I need to mask it. I'm going to click on the Tools button above the timeline, and from the drop-down, I'll simply select the second option, which is Mask Designer. That opens up my Mask Designer window. I have two general areas. I'm going to shrink this so you can see. We have one that is mask properties, the other that is object settings. We'll be using both of those, but we're going to start out with the mask properties. Then here we have all the masks available, and now we have two new added in version 19 or 365. The one we want is the linear mask. It's on the top of the rightmost column. I don't have to click and drag, just click on it and it will activate the mask. And immediately I see a mask, and it's somewhat different than anything I've seen before because it simply consists of a line, and in the middle of the line there's a marker with a green ball on it. Now I can move the mask around pretty easily with the mouse. I simply move it till I get the four-headed arrow, and I could go up and down. You notice I can't go left or right, just up and down. I can move the center of it obviously, but up and down is my only option, or I can click on the green ball and I can rotate it. That's exactly the effect that we want. Now what I'd like to do is make sure I have it pretty much in the center of the screen. So what I'm going to do is click on the lower right below my preview screen, and I have a safe zone and grid line option. It's going to be off the screen, but I do have the grid lines I want to activate, and I'll click a 2x2, which basically shows me where the center of the screen is. And if I had moved this where I didn't want it, I want to make sure right now it's perfectly in the center. I think that would be good for this particular video production, so I'm going to leave it there. Next thing I want to do is I want to change the border between the glass of tea and the ocean waves. I want to soften it. To do that, you move to the left side. You have a control in mask properties called feather radius. So I'm going to take the slider and move it into the upper 40s. I think that would be good. Something like that. You can also click on the number and type in a different number, or you can use the up and down arrows if you prefer. But that's a nice division between those two objects. I want to do something else in this case. I want my mask to fade in because I don't want to start out with the product on the screen, but just the ocean, because it will grab more attention for curiosity's sake. So what I need to do is activate my keyframes for the mask. Now they're not visible on my screen because I have that area reduced, so I'm going to click on the button that goes upward, the blue button. That will give me my keyframe controls for the mask. We're going to use the opacity value. Now I'm going to shrink down my mask properties and go to the object settings, and here I have a mask opacity value. I'm going to move my timeline to the very beginning, and I'm going to click on the diamond by the opacity value, and we'll set a keyframe. Right now you see no change because it's 100%. I'm going to drag it down to 0. Then we'll move in, about a second or so, maybe a second and a half. I'm going to set another opacity value, and now we'll move it all the way up to 100%. So it will quickly fade the mask in this particular case. And so if I move to the very beginning of the project and click on the preview in the mask designer, we're going to see that it comes in, and now we see it. And then we'll have the title and other things come in later. I think that's almost too fast. I'm going to take the second keyframe and move over to maybe 2.5 seconds or so. I think that'll be good enough, so I'm going to click on OK. And now we're going to activate our other two tracks. We have one that's title, and we have one that's music. And we'll go back, and we'll play this. I don't believe I have the audio recording enabled, but you'll see it. You won't hear anything. And we'll play that. And there we have our mask fading in, and things going along as well. So that's a very simple way to use this new type of mask in CyberLink PowerDirector 2019 or 365.